Most favored nation. Joey, what do we got going on with that? What does this mean, and what's he trying to do with this?
Yeah, so he sent a letter out to CEOs of many drug companies. So the initial letter is that for Medicaid, each drug company's full portfolio of existing drugs match, basically. So at most favored nation, so America would be paying whatever the lowest is for every single Medicaid patient immediately. And then for Medicare and for commercial, so basically for everybody else, any new drugs. There was a 2024 RAND study across all drugs, brand, generic, everything. U.S. prices 2.87 times as high as prices in the 33 countries that they analyzed. So
2.87 times.
Yes.
So almost 300%.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
America is 5% of the world's population, but generates 50% of the revenue of big pharma and 75% of the profit. So I think this is just a classic headliner. Like, my goodness, like, this is crazy. This is terrible. And I'm not saying it's okay. That's not where I'm going. I'm just saying the headline just makes so much sense that it's like, who wouldn't want that? So what I tried to look at is, again, a little more nuance into what's going on, how it happened,
right,
and why we are where we are. And when you're dealing with the scale and size and all the different interests here, from patients through to the government and the insurances and everything in between, how complicated it gets to kind of put a lot of those cats back in the bag and fix things like this. So a few reasons for why we are where we are. In America, our system is fragmented. You've got Medicare, Medicaid, you have private insurance, okay? And the other countries, nationalized healthcare, they have one negotiator, one person for the entire country, one party negotiating these prices. We've got the fragmentation. Okay. Yep. Then you throw in the insurances themselves, the PBMs, which are sometimes a part of the insurances. Very different situation in terms of negotiating. Price controls. Americans, and I get it, we don't really like having the government tell private companies what to charge other people. So what started as something that's, just our philosophy, the way we live, the way we believe in terms of free market capitalism, starts to just get kind of out of control, because medications used to cost a certain amount of a person's income, a certain amount of our GDP. Now that number is ballooning. So what starts as this is the way we do things has the potential to, over time, start to just get out of control. So our government doesn't directly negotiate any of these prices, okay? Countries use what's called reference pricing systems. So it's just basically a maximum amount that they're going to pay. So they almost have parameters before the negotiation even starts. They have parameters about what they're going to pay. And I'm just throwing out numbers, but if it's a blood pressure drug, we're not ever paying more than 50. So you can make this new drug or whatever you want. We're paying 50. We pay 200 for this. We pay up to 5,000 for cancer, whatever the case may be.
Right.
So again, that's back to just Americans. We do not. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and the reason they can do that is because they are such massive markets. All of the UK, all of France can say, hey, this is what we're willing to pay. And if you want to sell us any of your other drugs, you got to sell us this one for this price too. Because we're not gonna do this piecemeal thing. So they can kind of strong arm these companies into accepting lower prices on certain things, because they'll be able to make it up in other areas and also make it up in America.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that's a big factor, different countries have different patent laws and exclusivities. So in the US, again, being very capitalistic, free market driven, we have a little more aggressive patent laws that protect the ability of these companies to make money on their innovations, which again makes sense. And that's where we are, and what the exact number should be, and how problematic it is.
How long?
Yeah. And how do you compare a medication that's helping health versus a computer innovation? Those things are difficult to parse through. But again, that's where we are. Drug companies, again, I mean, kind of goes without saying, we all know that they do contribute a lot regarding research and development costs for these medications. On the other side, they spend a lot on direct-to-consumer advertising, and they can only do it's U.S. is one of the few countries where you can do that.
So the most favored nation element of this, you're saying that President Trump is directing Medicare, Medicaid to immediately tell the drug companies, we will only pay whatever the lowest price you're charging anybody else is.
Yes.
And the reason, of course, he's doing Medicare and Medicaid is because those are government-run programs where he actually has executive authority over them. Obviously, he can't do that for health insurance, but Medicare and Medicaid, just like in the other countries, is enormous. That is a huge number of patients.
Yeah. And again, to me, it's just one of those things. If we're just kind of starting from scratch, does that make sense? And we want to be on par with other countries? Yes, but it's very difficult to kind of unwind these things. Because you basically, when you start talking about the kind of figures and dollar amounts that we're talking about here, to all of a sudden say that the entirety of American Medicaid and Medicaid patients now, instead of, it be you profiting $500 on a drug, which is a ton, I'm just saying where we are, $500 on a drug, now you're profiting $125 across the board.
Right.
That changes, again, a big company that employs a lot of Americans, that changes their financial parameters so drastically that even if you believe in the core tenets of what he's trying to do,
right,
the ramifications are very severe.
Yes.